Thank you for joining us. I am Felicity Ezewuike. Our coverage tonight begins with security matters. President Bola Tinubu has condemned the killings of two Ekiti traditional rulers, Oba Olatunde Samuel Olushola and Oba David Babatunde Ogunshola. The president also bemoaned the kidnapping of pupils and teachers around the Oporo Ekiti area of the state as he directed security agencies to rescue the victims immediately. This was disclosed in a statement issued on Tuesday by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Ajiri Ngelale. According to the statement, the president condoled with the families and subjects of the traditional rulers, Governor Biodun Oyebanji, and the people of Ekiti on the development. He also directed the immediate rescue of pupils and teachers kidnapped around the Oporo Ekiti area of the state. In the meantime, a mild drama ensued during plenary at the House of Representatives as the spokesperson of the House wept over the murder of two traditional rulers by kidnappers in his constituency. This was as the House resumed plenary after a 4-week holiday, discussing extensively about the escalating insecurity situation in the country and the need for the president to make tough decisions to end the menace. Idong Joseph reports.
Commencing activities for the second half of the legislative year, lawmakers expressed concerns over insecurity, high rates of inflation, and increased hardship being faced by citizens. Some of them expressed worry over the continuous abductions by kidnappers, bandits, and terrorist groups in the country. A drama shortly ensued as a spokesperson of the House, in describing the gruesome murder of two traditional rulers in his community, could not hold back his tears.
In Oye local government and Esun in the Ikole local government and the entire state have been thrown into mourning on account of the loss of our highly revered traditional rulers who were forces for community development, peace and stability in the constituency and the entire state.
The continuous attack by terrorists in Mongu local government area and Bokos local government area of Plateau State need to be addressed immediately.
The Speaker of the House, in his remarks, urged the Parliament to work with relevant bodies to help tackle the hardship being faced by Nigerians and the killings of innocent citizens. He urged President Bola Tinubu not to shy from making tough decisions that will bring an end to insecurity.
Indeed, the time has come for the President to demand greater performance and accountability from our service chiefs and all security and enforcement agencies. I implore the President not to shy away from making the tough decisions. If necessary, we must not hesitate to enact changes within our security apparatus for the cause of inaction.
Lawmakers from some of the troubled areas also called for more deployment of security personnel to serve as a deterrent to criminals in their areas.
The House to urge the Chief of Defense Staff to establish a civilian joint task force in Plateau State.
The House also directs the Inspector General of Police, the Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and other security agencies to deploy more men to Ekiti North 1 and ensure that those who carried out those acts are fished out and brought to justice.
Though the House commended Nigerian troops for their efforts, it however calls for a review of strategies to turn the tide against terrorism. Lawmakers also proposed a National Legislative Security Summit where experts will have an opportunity to brainstorm and recommend adequate legislation that will crush insecurity once and for all. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Staying with security matters, the Senate has invited the service chiefs in the country for an interaction concerning the rising spate of insecurity. After a closed-door meeting that lasted for over 3 hours, the Senate expressed condemnation for the increasing incidents of kidnappings, banditry, and the brutal murder of innocent citizens by criminals. Senate leader Michael Bamidele Okpeyemi disclosed that the motion on insecurity had been sponsored by all 109 senators due to its critical importance. In his remarks, Senate President Godswill Akpabio lamented the continuous occurrences of banditry and kidnappings, highlighting the concerning development of intermediaries getting involved in ransom collection on behalf of kidnappers. He strongly denounced the recent attacks by bandits in Plateau and the gas explosion in Ibadan, the capital of Osun State. Several civil society groups in Nigeria have called for the declaration of a state of emergency and insecurity in the country. The groups, while speaking to newsmen in the nation's capital, Abuja, say that insecurity and crime has become a national concern and urge government to investigate, arrest and prosecute all those complicit in escalating the crisis. Amadine Uyi reports.
The escalating rise in insecurity in Nigeria has become a source of worry to citizens. From banditry to terrorism and kidnapping, many Nigerians have not been spared from this onslaught. Despite promises made by government to tackle this menace, it seems not much has been achieved in this regard.
The government has continued to fail in its primary duty of ensuring the security and welfare of all citizens as mandated in Section 14, subsection 2B of the Constitution.
This alarming trend has continued in spite of the President Tinubu's assurance at the beginning of his presidency in May 2023 to tackle insecurity. It has now been 8 months since President Tinubu took his oath of office.
Stakeholders while meeting in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, have called on government to declare a state of emergency on insecurity as the federal capital continues to grapple with insecurity challenges.
We need to secure this country. We're talking about foreign investment, people coming here. Even local businesses can't function. People, once it's dark, people, have to head home. Even if in daylight they are robbing people, kidnapping people, no longer from the streets, but from their homes.
For us, we are clear about this. We are clear that when you declare this state of emergency, it should include how you are going to tackle all of these things. There are equipment that are there, that have been bought actually, but have not been used. And they are not, nobody intended to use them. The state is in a state of abandonment. The Nigerian people have to wake up. It is not a civil society thing anymore. We have to wake up and hold these guys responsible and accountable.
They are also calling for thorough reforms by government, saying many agencies of government continue to frustrate efforts aimed at tackling insecurity challenges.
The government needs to have a holistic approach, but the president needs to, as a matter of urgency, to address the nation and say, this and this are the things we want to do, and in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, we expect the situation to change, and then we hold them on to.
The conspiracy of the security agents and the financial institutions, we need to dismantle it. The money goes to the banks. The criminals go and collect it. And then you go there and say, can we find the person, the owner of this account? They will tell you it will take 30 days. You keep going there. So the collusion is clear. So it's a Nigerian crisis.
The groups are also calling on President Bola Tinubu to ensure that those sponsoring acts of insecurity are investigated, arrested, and prosecuted. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Let's take a look at this with the help of a security expert, Salaudeen Hashim. Thank you very much for joining us. Salaudeen, can you hear me? Okay, I think we're having a little bit of a challenge. If you can hear me, can you acknowledge?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. All right. I mean, I don't know if you've followed the report so far, from one complaint from the House of Representatives to the Senate, and now civil society is calling for a state of emergency. Is Nigeria due for such a declaration?
All right, thank you very much. I have watched your clip, particularly starting with the one from the House of Reps. To be very honest, I felt quite uncomfortable because what I saw was simply for the cameras from the House of Reps. I think theatrics and drama was basically by sympathy from constituent members and not particularly responsive to the issue itself. And why did I say so? It is simply so because the issue of insecurity in Nigeria is interactive. And of course, even the House of Reps and members, they are also participants in the reasons why these are not happening. Just a few weeks ago, the House of Reps summoned the service chiefs, summoned the Inspector General of Police. And the Inspector General of Police has actually mentioned to them very clearly that one is that there are governance issues that are contributing to the issues of insecurity. One is the issue that borders around the transactional situation and circumstances of personnel. We have less than 400,000 personnel in the Nigerian police force, and over 100,000 are assigned to VIPs. And most of these cameras now have over 10 security aides and personnel attached to each and every one of them. Then you leave the population to ungoverned spaces, and you leave them to post-traditional threats. Then why this particular on the camera? I think for me that is number one. The second one is the issue of an age-long conversation around the military, when they mention very clearly that they are already overstretched. They are already carrying out some counterinsurgency operations in 33 states of the Federation. And yet, we are asking the military to deploy issues and go for strategy. I think it is not about strategy at this point. It is about the political will that we need to garner and deploy and engage it in a more constructive and a more holistic way. And I think it is also very fundamental. We have about 1,537 police divisions in 774 local governments across this country. And in all of these places, you can guarantee that you have policing ratio that is at deficit of 1 to over 10,000. The UN standard says we want to 400, but unfortunately that is not the case. The issue is, where are the deficits? And that is the question we must continue to ask. All of these questions are in the public place. The Inspector General of Police had also mentioned very clearly that even the water operations in most of the facilities where Boko Haram and terrorists are kept, most of them are working with these men in their facilities to use their banks to facilitate serious and organized crimes outside. Has anybody put a searchlight on that? Who has engaged to ask questions? Nobody is doing that. We have a large expanse of ungoverned borders, ranging to 1,600 kilometers. And this is actual issues that we have continued to raise.
Yeah, Salaudeen, I'm getting from you, though you haven't outrightly said it, but I'm getting from you that a state of emergency is not the call to be made right now, is it?
What we need is a response to governance. We need to manage governance failure. We need to manage some of those age-long issues. We need to manage the issue of how we control aliens. The Nigerian Immigration Service has the responsibility to control aliens, but there are lots of corrupt practices happening in border towns where aliens have to go in and out, paying money because they should not be searched. A lot of
Salaudeen, there is something I need to interject so we can catch other areas. There's something one of the facilitators of that press conference of the civil society said. He suggested that it's been eight months since President Tinubu took over, and he gave assurances that one of the issues he's going to tackle is security. You talked about a political will. Would you say that the president has shown leadership in terms of managing the security situation in the country? And is it time for him to maybe address the nation and in specific terms say what he is doing to address the situation?
It's about sloganeering. Security is not about sloganeering. Security is about response and action. When he addresses the nation and sympathizes with them, it has become an annual or a monthly ritual that we see on a regular basis. What we want to see are boots on the ground. We want to see massive deployment. We want to see how we take away personnel from VIP and deploy them to areas. If you listen to all the men who spoke in the House of Reps, they are asking for deployment in Ekiti. They are asking for additional troops. In Plateau, they are asking for where would the troops come from? Where most of them are taking and using all of those men to carry them around to guard their houses and their wives and their children and facilities. So where would the deficit come from? And government is talking about the fact that they don't have a sufficient budget and funding. Then again, you are asking yourself, the problem are there. You guys are participants and they need to find a way to muster the will to do the needful. It is not about the president taking a decision. It is about security agencies and those who make the law to understand that Nigerians and the lives of Nigeria comes first. We have seen how we put the school safety issue in the forefront in the past, but unfortunately, it is nowhere as we speak to you today. So school safety, 680 schools in the last 3 years were shut down across Nigeria. And why was that? Because we were particularly looking at how to safeguard. Because
I'm sorry to interject, but we're out of time. You're basically saying there's so much more that needs to be done in other areas, recruitment, infrastructure, and so many other areas to focus on if we are to address the issue of insecurity. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's also tell you that the Osun State Governor, Ademola Adeleke, has reimposed the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in Ilobu and Ifon communities following renewed hostilities involving the towns. The governor announced the decision in a statement signed by the State Commissioner for Information and Public Enlightenment obtained in Osogbo on Tuesday. Militias from Ilobu and Ifon community had resumed fighting in villages at the border of Osun and Oyo states on Monday. Police had confirmed the death of 2 persons in the crisis, while property was also said to have been destroyed. Before the latest crisis, Adeleke had in October last year imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew on the 2 communities due to bloody clashes involving them. We'll bring you more security-related stories shortly, but first let's tell you that the federal government has inaugurated the 37-man tripartite committee on national minimum wage. The committee is to recommend a new national minimum wage for the country. Vice President Hashim, who inaugurated the committee at the council chamber of the presidential villa Abuja, charged them to ensure the timely submission of their recommendations. The committee, chaired by the former head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Goni Buka Aji, is made up of members of the organized labor, the private sector, and the federal and state governments. Shatima said the decision to set up the committee is a recognition of the need to ensure a decent living wage and in compliance with the existing National Minimum Wage Act of 2019. Rivers Governor Siminalayi Fubara has revealed how the political crisis in the state is taking a toll on his emotional well-being. Fubara and his predecessor, Ezewuike, who is the FCT minister, have been engaged in a fierce tussle over the control of governance and politics in the oil-rich state. The event coincided with the 49th birthday of the governor. In his speech at the service, Fubara said his family was suffering because of the political crisis. He said a lot of people who ought to have attended the Thanksgiving service were absent. To end the political crisis in the state, President Bola Tinubu brokered a controversial peace deal between Fubara and Wike last month. In the meantime, Rivers State House of Assembly has accused Governor Siminalayi Fubara of engaging in illegality with regards to his recent appointments. The Speaker, Martin Amawule, leveled the accusation against the governor during plenary on Monday at the Assembly quarters in Port Harcourt. The appointments are to head 3 parastatals of government, namely Local Government Service Commission, Bureau of Public Procurement, and New City Development Authority. The Speaker explained that the mode of appointment was provided for in the law and there is no provision for acting chairman. The Speaker accused the governor of tyranny, even as the House resolved to write a letter to him warning against his actions. The new developments in the Assembly have continued to fuel speculations about whether or not the House will resume its aborted impeachment proceedings against the governor. To further discuss this, I'm joined by lawyer and public affairs analyst TuniAbdu Hamid. Thank you very much, Tunji, for giving us your time. A governor admitting the emotional toll of politics. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think River State issue has become something else. It's an ending issue that we are seeing every time, every day. It becomes a season film. I think the governor, for me, put himself in this circumstance of emotional trauma or whatever it calls. He put himself in this trauma because you can't surround yourself with people who are quote and unquote political enemy, and you want to enjoy yourself. You can't sleep well. You recall that the members of the House of Assembly as currently constituted, they all show their loyalty to the former governor of the state, and now the minister of the FCT, former governor Ezewuike. And then even these commissioners that were just re-inaugurated, they also showed same support. And same people are the people you want to surround yourself with, and you want to enjoy your sleep, or you want to enjoy your work, and you won't be having a sleepless night. I think for me, the governor did not do himself well by accepting to allow people who have shown that disloyalty or that disrespect for him to surround him. I think for me, it's giving himself a sleepless night or political trauma, as he calls it.
I mean, what is done is already done, and he is calling for peace, asking for solidarity for the state to move forward. That is the governor on the one hand. The State Assembly is accusing him of engaging in, illegality with regards to his recent appointment. Peace does seem far away, like you pointed out, him surrounding himself with these people. Will the proposed letter from the Assembly, in your view, redirect the governor's actions? Will it have any impact?
I don't think so, because I have not seen any serious allegation against the governor regarding what they have said, that he appointed an acting chairman when there is no provision for it. That is not a serious misconduct as far as I'm concerned. Though it's not a breach, it's not a breach of the law, because that acting chairman will not be there to perpetuity. You are acting basically because something happened, and then depending on that issue will be resolved, they will be there. So for me, if you are saying just because somebody appointed another person, other people as an acting chairman, and that is a breach of the constitution that of law, that you can say he has committed a gross misconduct. I am aware that for the assembly to impeach the president and the governor, what they need to show is there's a gross misconduct. And I'm also aware that Section 188 of the Constitution, Subsection 11, empowers the the House of Assembly to determine what is the misconduct. So, but the misconduct must not be just from the vacuum. They must be attached to something. For me, I'm not sure serious misconduct has been established seriously in this regard. And if at all it has been established, ordinarily, I'll be praising them if this is the way they behave when the former governor was there, and they check the governor for his SSCs, and that's the job of our assembly, to check the executive. But what do we see? We see a situation whereby they become a parastatal under the executive. And because the governor now is not having the favor of the former governor of the state, they are trying to put a pressure on him or make him do whatever that they want him to do.
But beyond the appointment of caretaker chairman, then some other issues came up. Some of the lawmakers raised questions about the legal existence of the New City Development Authority. Do you think maybe they have some point there? What can you tell us about this? Are you aware of the legal status of that authority?
Let me clarify here. What I am aware that he appointed is not the caretaker chairman of the local government. Caretaker acting chairman of a certain agency or parastatal. That's what they said he appointed.
Yes.
So because if it's about chairman of local government, that is in breach of the law of the constitution, and that's enough to also initiate that proceeding if they want to do that, because a violation of the law is an impeachment, is an impeachable offense. For me, you see, what I'm saying is that look, these people are not doing this because they want to. They are working for the states. They are doing what they are doing now just because somebody is beating drum for them behind the scene. They want to show that look, a former governor of the state said we will soon know who is in charge. So they want to show him that look, you are not in charge, even though you are the governor, even though you have the red pen. We can still manipulate you, can still control you, we can still put you under pressure, and that's what they are trying to do. This is the kind of pressure they should be doing genuinely, not this kind of a pressure that will be initiated because of a certain hatred or certain push, a political push. For me, what they are alleging is not enough yet to have him to say the governor is doing there's a misconduct and this and that. Well, they can write him a letter, he will reply appropriately, and then they will see where they go next.
Tunji, thank you very much for speaking with us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
To more security matters, the growing threat of improvised explosive devices in Osun State may become history very soon. New theater commander for the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai, Major General YD Shuwu, pledged to address the issue strategically. Major General YD made the pledge during the handing over ceremony held at the Maimalari Cantonment, Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. News Center's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Settlement efforts in Nigeria's northeastern region in recent times has been progressing with Lomane, Ajiri, among other communities fully resettled. IEDs have become a core tactic employed by insurgents, particularly in the northeast region. These homemade deadly devices have resulted in numerous casualties among military personnel, innocent civilians, and even humanitarian aid workers. Major General Shaibu's appointment comes at a critical time when decisive action is needed to neutralize this threat and restore safety to the region. Major General Shaibu outlined his strategy to address the IED threat comprehensively.
Coming to the theater is an opportunity to serve, and my role basically is to galvanize the officers and men to ensure that we get the mandates of Operation Hadinkai. So we will just go ahead with the mandate, their ongoing operations. We will enhance it and ensure that officers and men do what they are supposed to do.
He stressed the importance of intelligence gathering, collaboration with local communities, and the deployment of advanced technology to detect and neutralize hidden IEDs.
Give similar support to the new commander in order to achieve more successes by clearing the remnants of the terrorists for sustainable peace in the Northeast region. I equally thank other security agencies for the important role they played in bringing their unique competencies on board in the planning and conduct of our operations. I therefore reiterate the need for us to continue operating in a professional manner in accordance with our rules of engagement at all times. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. The cooperation of all stakeholders, including the military, security agencies, and the local population will be critical in achieving this collective objective. In Borno State for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The Network Against Corruption and Trafficking initiative in Nigeria has called for the probe of a former governor of Cross River State over allegations of graft and wide-scale mismanagement of the state's resources while he held sway as governor. The network urged Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate the former governor, saying there exists a plethora of evidence against him, proving he has several cases to answer. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission's recent move to revisit the corruption cases of former governors has received commendation from Nigeria's anti-corruption community, though some groups have expressed disappointment that the move to investigate the past governors is not all-encompassing. They say some of them have been left out. One group in Abuja, the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking Initiative, says that despite furnishing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission with undisputable evidence of wide-scale corruption perpetrated by a former governor of Cross River State, nothing has been done.
We have provided the entire Cross River State account details and how monies were approved by Ben Ayade recklessly and diverted. In the case of our private and detailed investigation, we highlighted the gray areas for the FCC to focus on. We therefore wonder why Ayade has not been invited, investigated, nor prosecuted.
We have leaders who feel they have arrived, who feel they don't owe it to Nigerian people to account for their stewardship. I want to tell Nigerians that whatever power these people wield, it is a power legitimized by Nigerians. Every Nigerian go to vote these people, and we are duty bound. We owe it on ourselves to ask our leaders to account for whatever that is entrusted in their care.
They called on the agency to beam its searchlight on the administration of the governor, saying there is a need to recover funds mismanaged in the interest of citizens in the state.
Who received a payoff of 2.6 billion on 12th of June 2015 from Cross River State Recurrent Expedition FAC account in First Bank? Who received a payoff of 1.4 billion from the same account on June 8, 2015? Who received the 200 million naira disbursed from account Cross River State Government Consolidated account with First Bank on the 16th of August 2017? And many more questions that are yet to be answered.
Look at the amount of money in billions mentioned here. This can go a long way to solving the needs of the people that elected them into power.
They also tasked the commission to make an example of those found culpable to discourage others from towing the same path.
Today we see EFCC going after Yahoo boys, quite commendable. But there are other Yahoo people in elected positions, and these young ones are watching them. When we see all this thing, hear about all this money, and nothing is done about it, it is what fires these young ones to delve into what they do to eke out their own living.
With some high-profile Nigerians visiting the Commission's headquarters in the last 3 weeks, the network says it is hoping that the investigations are thorough and far-reaching. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
In the meantime, Nigeria moved 5 places up to rank 145 out of 180 countries assessed in the 2023 Corruption Perception Index released in Abuja. The index released by the global anti-corruption watchdog Transparency International also say Nigeria gained 1 point from 23 to 24 out of 100 points in the Corruption Perception Index results. Amadine Uyi reports.
With a promise to fight corruption, President Bola Tinubu has not been shy to rattle the big players in Nigeria's political space. The questioning of a former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the sack of the Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria's National Social Investment Program Agency, including the suspension of the current Minister of Humanitarian Affairs over corruption allegations, it seems the current government is determined to match its words with action. Thus, the release of the 2023 Corruption Perception Index reports by international transparency watchdog is one event that many has looked up to. The country director of Transparency International in Nigeria maintains that the organization is not partisan and has no interest in politics. Thus, its report should be taken more seriously.
We are not politicians. We are not opposition, people. We are interested in seeing our country progress because corruption has done incredible damage to our reputation, to our country. The level of insecurity we see is associated with also the corruption.
Though the report indicates that Nigeria has improved slightly, several stakeholders think it is not yet time to rejoice, as there is still much more to be done to improve the public perception of corruption in the country.
Public office holders in Nigeria have failed to show empathy or concern for citizens' plight. Rather, we have seen wasteful appropriation and approval of billions of naira for luxury items.
The Nigerian judiciary was expected to display independence and dispatch justice transparently, as well as in equity and fairness. However, different conflicting rulings by the different courts have questioned the independence and integrity of the judiciary as an institution.
Some of them highlight recommendations to improve citizens' perception to the war against corruption.
We are recommending that the independence of the Nigerian justice system needs to be strengthened to shield it from interference. Merit-based promotion and appointment should be carried out rather than political appointment. This will help win back the trust of the citizens in the judiciary.
It is important that government take necessary steps to block leakages, to ensure that people that are given trust in leadership did not abuse offices.
The greatest antidote to anti-corruption is openness and transparency. And numerous public institutions in Nigeria are yet to fully comply with the Freedom of Information Act, the Open Government Partnership, the Transparency and Integrity Index, and other international commitments Nigeria has signed on to.
Nigeria moved 5 places up to the rank of 145 out of 180 countries assessed. It also gained 1 point added to its previous 24 out of the 100 maximum points in the 2023 CPI results. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
The Owerri Bridge in Delta State will be completed in 9 months' time. The State Commissioner for Works, Highways and Urban Roads disclosed this while speaking to journalists shortly after inspecting the ongoing construction works at the site. News Central's Austin Azu completes the report.
While reiterating the importance of the project to several communities across the Owerri River, Izeze, former lawmaker representing Ughelli South State constituency, commended the state government for awarding the contracts. He said the ongoing project signifies Governor Sheriff Oborevori's opportunities for all Deltans as enshrined in his more agenda. He commended the contracting firm and indigenous company for the job done so far on the project and assured that the Governor Oborevori's administration will patronize contractors with proven competence and capacity to deliver on projects.
If you understand this terrain, the entire Ewu, it's about 30-something communities that make up the area of Ughelli South. It's an island. So you don't even need too much rains before the flooding starts. And to get the proper sloping, you need to actually start from the other end. As you, what it actually is a long distance, not a long one. It took a long distance before the river so that by the time the flooding starts, it will not disturb the usage of this bridge.
The bridge is a 500 meters bridge, access road of 4.3 kilometers. Then going to Owerri, you have 1.36 kilometers.
Managing director of the firm said the project was delayed by yearly flooding that makes the firm to lose 4 months of active work annually. He assured that in the next 9 months, the job will be completed and will be fully motorable, open to the remaining 15 communities up to Bomadi. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has commended the nation's Air Force for its support to the commission in previous polls. Chairman of the body, during a visit to the Chief of Air Staff in Abuja to update him on preparations for the February by-elections and rerun polls, says that Air Force personnel have distinguished themselves in their duties with the commission. Amadin Uyi has details.
With Nigeria's election cycle almost done and dusted, the nation's electoral body is set to conduct fresh by-elections and rerun polls. With the elections in a few days' time, the chairman of the commission is already meeting with stakeholders and partners to finalize plans for the conduct of the polls. The INEC chairman met with the chief of the air staff in Abuja, commending him for the support the Air Force has rendered to the commission in the past.
I would like to commend the Nigerian Air Force for the cooperation in the area of election security and logistics support, for the timely delivery of materials during general elections, off-cycle elections, by-elections, supplementary elections, and rerun elections.
He says Air Force personnel have distinguished themselves during the conduct of past polls, with none of the personnel found wanting in their duties.
I want to place on record the neutrality and professionalism of the Nigerian Air Force in particular, and the armed forces in general, in discharging your responsibilities. There has been no unhappy incidents or compromise on the part of their officers and men.
The chief of the air staff reiterated the importance of democracy to the nation, saying it is a pillar for growth and development.
The invaluable contributions of the INEC distinguishes democracy as a form of governance unparalleled in its commitment to the people. Furthermore, it lends credence to the slogan that democracy is the best form of government known to man.
He also commended the commission for its contribution to the growth of democracy in Nigeria, saying the INEC chairman has performed creditably well in the discharge of his duties.
I would like to commend Mr. Chairman also for the numerous initiatives which have occurred under your watch, and some of these include voter registration, introduction of new technologies, voter education and sensitization, as well as post-election reviews. Another laudable achievement of the chairman I would like to add is the 2022 Electoral Act, which introduced a lot of reforms, amongst other advantages of which was, to ensure increased transparency and credibility in the whole of our electoral process.
The INEC chairman says that the commission has already made preparations to conduct by-elections and rerun polls in 26 states of the country. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
With the rising cost of education in Nigeria, experts fear that the number of out-of-school children may double, hence the call on the government by educationists to invest heavily, particularly the public sector. News Center's Omolola Ololade tells us more in this report.
Basic education is a right of all Nigerian children and is compulsory for them regardless of tribe, religion and status. While the cost of basic education is largely borne by the government, some individuals and organizations are involved in the funding of the program. In 2003, the Universal Basic Education Program was launched to provide free and compulsory education from primary to junior secondary school. More than 15 years since the inception of UBE, it remains curious that many cases of out-of-school children are still being attributed to monetary costs. However, educationists believe education is expensive and funding public schools even up to the tertiary level remains paramount if education must remain affordable and accessible to all.
When you talk about public schools, I think the states should really put more money into education. But it's not just putting money into education, into the right things. Because many studies, there are studies that show that Nigeria has spent more on education than many countries in sub-Saharan Africa, with less to show for it. So it's the efficiency and effectiveness of the funds. So it's important that we fund it appropriately. We put enough money into education to ensure that every child has a chance.
Tertiary education has major intrinsic costs. It's one of the most expensive ventures. And because for a long time, various administrations, even when they knew that it was becoming unsustainable, they had sold a story to the public that it can be free.
While the focus is on ensuring that every child is in school, experts say it is imperative to provide quality and relevant education for all children, especially by providing a relevant curriculum for the country's educational system.
Teacher training curriculum is inadequate, because it's too theory-based. Like, I can give you many theories, Vygotsky's theory, Piaget's theory, things like that. But how to teach in the classroom? How to engage learners? How to deploy technology in the classroom? How to have, multiple assessment strategies and so on? How to integrate what we call the 21st century skills to what you are doing? They're just not part of the teacher training curriculum. So I think, again, we really need to have serious conversations about looking at our curriculum across board, even at tertiary level.
Educationists conclude that Nigeria's educational challenge is not just one of funding or inadequate investment, but rather changing approaches to articulate new outcomes in the country's education. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the big stories. President Tinubu has condemned killings of traditional rulers, kidnapping of peoples in Ekiti. Osun State Governor has imposed curfew on communities over renewed clashes. We also brought you news that the federal government has inaugurated a 37-member tripartite committee on minimum wage. Would like to hear from you? Please send your eyewitness reports to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media as well at News Central TV. We're live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. Good night.